gibt. Und deshalb übergebe ich jetzt an meinen Kollegen und freue mich sehr, dass er die nächste Session hier leitet. Herzlich willkommen, Stefan Knopf.
Ja, wunderschönen guten Tag von meiner Seite. Now I switch to English. My name is Stefan Knopf. Working more than 27 years at SAP, third time here at the Lakeside event, and together with Tom we organized, or we said, why not managing a panel. Last year I was participant, now it seems to be the next level of I'm taking care as a Customer Evolution Manager in SAP for the region Middle and Eastern Europe. This is Germany, Switzerland, and the Central and Eastern countries. Two main topics. The one is supporting our customers still sitting on or using productive system on old releases, ECCs. How can we motivate them going to cloud solutions with different services and tools, most of them free of charge for customers. So therefore, we had a session yesterday afternoon in a smaller round. And the second topic is still that total commercial thing. If customers are moving to RISE, for example, and then they go out of on-premise software. So we call it extension policy. So the customers reducing the on-prem part and transforming that with an uplift to cloud. That's from my side. My pleasure is that each of these participants were willing to introduce themselves. So Alexander, over to you with a short introduction, and then I come with the one or the other question. And at the end, I will receive any kind of signal 5 minutes before the end that you as audience still have the chance to answer the one or the other question. Thank you. Let's have fun with these 25 minutes. Alexander.
Yeah. Alexander Zeier, do SAP 33 years, many years with SAP, and I started for Hasso-Plattner the HANA project 2006, was leading this for 6 years, so I'm the co-inventor and project lead for the HANA system. Then I was 11 years the CTO for Accenture, have done hundreds of customers, moved them to the new SAP world, and the custom code was always a challenge. This is the reason why I now co-founded in San Francisco and Silicon Valley a company for multi-agent modernization with latest AI to bring customers to S/4HANA and Clean Core.
Thank you. Richard.
Yeah, Richard Grandpierre. I don't have quite the tenure yet, 9 years at SAP. Now I lead the product management team for AI. So we centralized AI at SAP, and so we're responsible for the entire AI stack. Quite an exciting time, as you can imagine, where AI is everywhere. And so yeah, super happy to get into conversation here.
Thank you.
Great, my name is Waibel. I used to be at SAP, but I escaped a life sentence after 15 years. And now one of my responsibilities now is I work for a private equity company called Riverside, where I'm the group CTO, so advising all the technology companies in our portfolio, setting up the right processes and making sure that they create value.
Okay, AI changing, let's say, the software companies' processes, perhaps. If we start with you, Alexander, playing a significant or major or the significant role together with Hasso-Plattner at that point of time, developing HANA. So might be interested for the audience, what were the main topics or topics you wanted to solve with HANA? What was the approach there?
Yeah, I think in 2006, there was R2 mainframes and the client-server solution, and we realized that there's significant hardware change in the market to multi-core and everything in main memory. So there was a clear idea to develop a new architecture for the future of SAP to get the next generation, the new architecture. So we needed more or less to change the stack from 3-tier architecture to get the data much closer to the CPU power, which is HANA. So we more or less invented the HANA database. I have 8 patents with him and the team. And the core value, what you get now with S/4HANA was more or less the foundation with HANA beginning close to 20 years ago. And SAP now redeveloped the 385 million lines of custom code of your old SAP Business Suite over the last 12 years, that it's available now on HANA with S/4HANA in the new code stack, that you have the data also available for analytics, for AI, which he need, I think is also possible now. But the bigger advantage is for the clients that you have now the opportunity to innovate much faster and also bring on the complete SAP data new AI agent up and running. And the challenge is what we are solving now is to get all the custom code of the clients also to S4HANA, which is when you really want to leverage this, and you need to get to S4HANA and clean core to BTP. And I'm now quite proud that 18 years later we see the results, that there's now a modernized SAP system available, and the clients can leverage this now as a foundation with HANA, what we started to get it to the new SAP offering, which is also with RISE, the combination of this.
I think we come later on in details a little bit about that custom code transformation, because that's, in my opinion, really important for all of those who did not start or in the thinking of the journey, how to get there. So Richard, we can call him Richard, would have been German, Richard, or we'd say Richard would be English, or Richard.
Oh, Richard.
Ah, yeah, bien sûr. Je suis parle un peu français, mais c'est Richard. Ah oui, bien sûr. So Richard, what is SAP with AI doing? And perhaps you come then a little bit to, let's say, added value, Joule, what does it bring for customers? How do we do it with the agents? What is the different user experience? Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Right, yeah. So for us at SAP, it's been primarily around execution. Right, so there's lots of great technology out there. Of course, we've been investing into AI since a long time. Machine learning, some of you might remember the old Leonardo days, right? And so we've been investing heavily. But of course, now with the rise of these generative AI models, it has supercharged the way we can deliver across our applications. I think Alexander just made a great point around that foundation, that platform, right? With HANA as a foundation, with all of the data being in a structured way in our systems, plus then all of the application logic, right, that we've been building up for 30 plus years now in the core of our stack, that enables us to use AI, right, with that data, with that application logic, to really automate very critical business processes. And so we've been primarily focusing on how can we get this into the applications as quickly as possible. And we've actually been quite successful over the last 2.5 years now, or 3 years in bringing this into production. We have now more than 250 generative AI use cases productized in our applications, brought them into the different applications. We have Joule live in all of our core systems, cloud systems. We have more than 35,000 active customers using our AI solutions every day. So we have made huge progress at a pace that previously at SAP, I think we were struggling in some of the areas to get to this pace. But AI has really supercharged us a little bit and pushed us forward. So yeah, we're quite happy with those results.
We yesterday had with some selected customers, perhaps that's an idea for next year, if you know that. So Thursday afternoon normally we do in a smaller round some interactions with a few customers who are interested. Yesterday we had a great, in my opinion, a great session, and one of these topics which we had was also like Joule for consultants, where it was Alexander Finger, our CTO of Market Unit Switzerland, was here, and then we showed a little bit cases here and there, and one of these questions was a specific question from one of the attendees of the customer, and then we just typed in what does it mean. And it was a logistic part, and then the first idea was on the top level, and then the answer from the customer participant was, but can we go a little bit deeper? And then we were really like asking, what does it in the customizing look like? And then it came, and we got some really guidance. How could it look in customizing? Perhaps a little bit about these Joule agents which we have.
Yeah, so Joule for Consultant has been the biggest success for us in AI. Of course, the need is very big in the market, with lots of our customers still being on on-premise systems, needing to migrate into the cloud. Joule for Consultants is the solution that helps to speed up these migration projects quite significantly. And it's a fairly simple case. Using Gen AI models, we're grounding it on all of the data, fine-tuning for some of the models. We build our own ABAP model, we trained our own ABAP model, bring that all together in one package, and all of a sudden you get 20 25 up to 30%, depending on the project, acceleration in migrating from on-premise landscapes to the cloud. So, and there's an immediate business value, right? An immediate return on investment, because these projects typically are lengthy, quite costly, very expensive. So with these type of use cases, I think there's the value is very clear to everyone very quickly. Now, it's not as easy everywhere, like with Joule for Consultants. So if you go into the core finance processes, core supply chain processes, we have now great cases as well that we've built right into the application. But here, of course, it really then takes more time to make sure, how do we bring all of the logic from the customers, right, that they've been, customizing and integrating and building out in their applications. How do we make this work in productive scenarios with AI, while at the same time making sure everything works reliably and in a secure way, right? Once we now automate some of these processes with agents, it becomes a clear mandate from our side to make sure this actually works in productive scenarios, right? It's one thing to play around on a platform, try out some use cases. The other thing is you want to roll this out to 100,000 employees, and they are actually triggering important transactions within your applications on top of that data. It needs to work reliably, and you need to get the accuracy all the way to close to 100% to make sure that this can scale.
Udo, we yesterday evening had a nice interaction about, let's say, your experience regarding coding of software. Can this be done by agents? What is the difference? Is it software which can be used for a specific process and then perhaps will not be used anymore? I think the name is disposable software. Give us your experience, your view on that, please, or the audience. Yeah.
Across our software portfolio, we're seeing a great use of AI, and it certainly speeds up the developer productivity. I mean, sometimes up to 2x of the productivity, and we're seeing that. And I mean, when you kind of extrapolate that a little bit further, it's now extremely easy to just put together an application. You don't even need to have the detailed programming background. Kind of the higher level enterprise architecture skills enable you to get complete business processes implemented. And that's what I also would call the disposable applications, where you don't really kind of, you need to have the data lake in the background. You need to have, the data is still rules, but you sit on top of the API and you can develop very custom specific use cases. Things that previously were done with a lot of custom coding in good old SAP days. Now you just develop that with an AI agent on top, and you get really custom tailored software.
Great. Alexander, when I started at SAP in '97, I was consultant, basic consultant, and I received more or less always the sub-all rights to make changes. When you go to your experience over the last years and the custom code, so I know that in Germany, I sometimes said when I was in projects, the landscape, the architecture was grown hysterisch. Also it's not historically grown, it's hysteric, or what's in English? I don't know.
Yeah. Historical.
You know, hysterisch gewachsen because someone was crying and wanted something.
So one way to put it, yeah.
So, and let's say you are analyzing the custom code, and with your new company, and then you founded, or you're a co-founder, you have, let's say, real great possibilities and some insights and figures to analyze the custom code and support all of those customers who are interested to make that journey. That would be, I think, a great pleasure if you would tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I think what you have done the last 10 years, when I was at Accenture, you had the old custom code. Many clients have 20, 30, up to 50% have some clients of custom code in addition. You just take the amount of time. SAP needed 12 years to rewrite everything for HANA, the code. You have 50% in addition, you see the effort.
Yeah.
And without AI, I think it's extremely expensive and risky and very long time consuming. So we realized that we that we are able to use now the latest AI technology, which is just in the last 9 months, 12 months available. It was not possible 2 years ago. The company is pretty young, 1 year in the market. The core team, my co-founder Emma, she works since years on this. She was leading the global AI coding benchmark across the industries outside of SAP last summer. But now we are able to apply this to SAP. So we have some first pilots done for some customers. Now we implement further. One is public with IBM daughter or spin-off Kindle. We took 33,000 lines of old ECC code and we are able to use up to 95% of the custom code is now generated with our AI platform. So only the last few percentage when they now able to have manually adjusted a little bit. So we have. And at the end, it was 100% clean core compliant. And we see also another trend when a client move from ECC to S4, that they have the challenge, as you say, there are different ways how the code was developed over the last 20, 30 years. And there was never checked if it's now it's S4HANA and the standard available because nobody understands the custom code. So we more or less analyzing with our agents, completely scanning and analyzing and documentation of the old custom code, give for all the important applications a dedicated specification of business logic. And then the big difference is when you do it the old way without AI agents, then you more or less just have some rules and change the syntax that the old code is working. What we do, we take the specification, the documentation, and completely throw the old code away and develop it new from scratch as a composable application on BTP, or there are different names for this way, how Gartner call it, composable enterprise. But we are really able to clean up the SAP system, keep it clean and lean. The S4 system leveraged latest BTP technology and beyond. And the interesting point is that the TCO, what we can give now also to the clients, because the clean core effort is several times bigger than just the migration to S4, sometimes 10 times bigger at some clients, and they have a lot of custom code. We are able to reduce it by a factor of 50 to 75% of this effort, and also give them a kind of TCO based on this reduction of maintenance. When clean core is significantly lower maintenance cost, that they have a return on investment 2 years plus, depending on the client. So I think AI have such a dramatic improvement, also not only using it as an use case to do some interesting numbers on top, you also can change on the, I call it the engine, to development, using now AI to give the clients faster and also lower risk, because we have some testing of the code, which is usually an issue. So I was at Accenture responsible as a CTO for all global escalations for S/4HANA system, and this was usually the custom code where it doesn't scale enough to HANA and it was not tested.
So when these colleagues have questions, you are here today. Please feel free to go into all the details with Alexander. Richard, so where's the future of SAP in this topic of AI and KI and Joule? So how do you see us? What are, let's say, the upcoming interesting innovations?
I mean, what is clear is with the agents, agentic workflows, we can automate more and more and more and more of basically what today users are performing in your SAP application, right? So from resource planning at the very beginning, supply chain, all the way down to new material masters, to like the finance processes, accounts receivable, accounts payable. It really goes through the entire chain, where you have today we have about 300, 400 million users of our SAP applications globally, just in the cloud. And of course, that's an enormous value proposition, right? And just making all of this a lot more simple. The user really becomes the controller of the process, right? So if you've been to any of these larger manufacturing plants of like in the automotive industry or so on, you see now today, right, the level of automation is super high already, right? We have all of the robots working around. Some of it, robots, there's like a gate. The human is just going into the gate. Once it goes on green light, can go through, helps the robot basically to get the stuff done that the robot cannot do yet, and then the robot again takes over the work, right? So, and that's where we're going really also in the digital world, basically the human becoming the controller of the process, and managing a fleet of agents that then do the work for them across the different applications. Now for us that's an interesting point because we sell most of our applications user-based, so that will probably dramatically go down, and then we'll dramatically have to increase the agents that are working, the virtual users. So yeah, it's a very interesting time for us. The pace of innovation is super fast, right? If you think about, you just mentioned it as well, right? 9 months ago, right? Before that, it wasn't even possible. Like agentic workflows at scale were not possible 9 months ago. The models were not, in reasoning capabilities, were not performing well enough. Now yesterday we had the GPT-5 launch. It's already available today on BTP, so we have made it available. We've been had early access, and we've been testing it already for our applications. And yeah, it's again another big step actually, right, in reasoning capabilities and the performance that we get in innovation. And that's just in super short amounts of time, right, on how this is scaling up. So it's very hard to predict like 5 years or 10 years from now at this point with the pace of innovation that we currently see.
Great. Udo, perhaps last question to you. Where do you see the future? What is coming in the next few years?
Well, when you think about, let's say, the old way of SAP, you needed to get special training, you needed to be shipped over to Waldorf to go to the Schulungszentrum, and you had a week-long class. Nobody has time for that anymore.
Yeah.
So where I see the future evolving for SAP, but also for a lot of the other software companies, is to be more like the ChatGPT UI, where you just communicate with an agent, and then the agent does the things for you. I've already seen the HubSpot announcement where HubSpot integrated the MCP servers. I think there's great potential there.
The MCP is cool, yeah.
Yeah, MCP, for those who are not following AI as much as everyone else, stands for a Model Context Protocol. And to me that it's kind of, you just talk to a system, so like a natural language interface, and then the system performs those tasks for you. You don't need to know where you need to go. You don't need to know any of the transaction codes that we used to click into that little field up there. And you don't need to know and understand the UI. You just talk to the system and it does it for you. So I think there's great potential. We'll see a lot of these type of simplified UIs happening. And so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Great. Thank you. So I wanted to open to the audience. Are there any questions to these panel participants? Any questions, remarks? Nothing. I think you still might remember this when we speak about cooperation between companies or like that, this intelligent chicken. You might know that story where this chicken had an idea and spoke with the pig and said, I've got an idea of cooperation. Then the pig said, oh, tell me, chicken, what is it? And then I asked something like ham and eggs. Ham and eggs, let's make a strategic partnership. And then the pig asked, yeah, how does it look? What do you want? What is your idea about that? And then the chicken said, I deliver the eggs and you the ham. So I'm happy that we manage all of our companies on a strategic way and sustainable way forward, so that SAP hopefully will be there the next years and manage all of these innovations, and that new companies, let's say, are coming with additional value. Alexander, you might summarize the session, or perhaps the final. You made a great, in my opinion, career from SAP and Hausplattner, and anything you want, perhaps in a minute, to summarize regarding your past years.
I just can say, be curious and interested on the latest AI technologies. It's changing so fast. Even when you say GPT-5 came out yesterday, nobody recognized that Gemini have done it a few days before, and I have seen the graph today in the morning that all the developers, major part moving to Gemini and not using OpenAI anymore because this version looks better. So it is so fast changes when you are really to want to be ahead. There is, I think that the interesting time is now. I do SAP 33 years, and more or less SAP was always programming some processes in an SAP system and speeds this up and sometimes adds something, but it was always deterministic. It was pretty clear the outcome. But now with AI, the system learns by itself, changes, learning, and adjusts. Never been before. It's a self-learning system, and with HANA and S/4HANA, you get the first time also the full access to your SAP data. When you have an old ECC system, the old cluster tables, there is no way to get this data on the system. It's probably, for me, the biggest value in such conversation to have this real-time data platform with full access in place. And then you can use AI on top to make the data available. And many large companies asking for this also. They see the move to S4 as a mandatory step, but they want to do the next step, how I can build agent on this differentiating IP I have in my old SAP system so far, and how I can use this now for dedicated agents. So
great. So Alexander, Richard, Udo, thanks so much for this interaction. The audience, thanks for listening, and all the best, and thanks for being part of this event here at the DMI Lakeside. Thank you.
Thank you.